So, Abeno Shabashemem, Yathakeda Shamcha, Wayatabarach Malachotcha, Ratsoncha, Yaeg Ashui Bashemem, Waba Arats, Wathathan, Lachamnu, Thamede, Pamachol Lano, Chatatheno Cha Ashar, Anach No, Mochlem Lachoteem Lano, Wa'alfa Bayano La Yade Naseon, Washamarino Machorai Aman.
Aman. Abeno, Shabashamem, Yathakadash Shamko, Wayatabarak Malachotcha. Ratsonka, Yaeg Ashui Bashemem, Waba Arats, Wathathan, Lachamnu, Thamede, Wamacholano, Chatatheno, Cha Ashar, Anach Mochlem Lachote Aimlano, Waal Fabiano La Yadena Seon Washa Moreno, Mahal Rai Aman.
3. And because we've already entered month 2, does everyone know what date today is?
Second day.
Month 2, day 2.
Second day.
Month 2, day 2. So we've gotten through Pesach, and now we need to look at, just study for and look at what's up ahead for the rest of on the calendar. So we're gonna read the 23rd chapter of Leviticus, just to refresh ourselves. And again, a lot that we're gonna read, we're gonna see, wow, we can't do that, we can't do this, we can't do that, right? And it should make you feel uncomfortable, because these are laws that we're supposed to be keeping, and we can't. We can't keep them until we build the tabernacle. And it is a commandment to build the tabernacle. Commandment. Once we wake up and we call to mind the curses and the nations where we were scattered, it is a commandment to then go rebuild the tabernacle so that you can keep his laws. If you really love him and you're searching and you're following after him with all your heart, this is what you will be compelled to want to do, because it's not enough just to stay in a land where the laws prevent you from keeping them and then use it as your excuse not to keep them, which is what people are doing. What people are doing is that they're using Babylon as the excuse not to keep the laws. Well, we can't keep the laws, we're in captivity. Like they were going to keep the laws anyway. It's really disingenuous for them to talk like that, because they were never going to keep these laws anyway. They're just using Babylon as the excuse not to. All right. And if you're going to be on Facebook banging the laws and you're going to work on Shabath, maybe you should be quiet. Maybe
And then on
you should.
top of it,
Go ahead.
they don't even have an escape plan. They're even the Tanakh only guys, it seems, are waiting for God to come down. Instead of Jesus going to come down and crack the sky over America, God's going to,
or David.
Yeah, or David's going to. Somebody, they're waiting on a savior that's going to come and take them out of their inability, and then whisk them away to the wilderness.
Yeah, they end up recreating the wheel that they want to condemn.
Yeah.
What's that going to look like? David's going to come up out of the ground in Israel, and then everyone's going to say, "Oh, here he is," and then he's going to be the king, and then
Then he's coming over to the United States to come
save
us.
And then he's going to come to the U.S. and scoop us up in his pimped out UFO.
Mm-hmm.
So no. All right. Leviticus 23, and then we'll look at the calendar. Let's look at the first 3 or 4. Maybe we can do 4 verses in our own language. I think we can. And then we'll switch to the English. So Leviticus 23, verse 1, first word, Wayad Dabar, which means
and said.
He said.
So this is going to be, he said. We have the root of the verb, simple active voice here, dabar, prefix with yah, which makes it an imperfect third person. Now the wa in front of that, we know, is going to flip the tense around from imperfect to perfect. So instead of he will say yadabar, wa yadabar is and he said. Now, as I was saying earlier in the beginning, I wasn't hitting this point home yet because I want folks to get used to the, just getting used to spitting out the words. But there is a way for us to make sure that this wa at the front of the verb is not a simple copulative or conjunction and when it is being used to flip the tense around. Does everyone remember how we do that? How do we distinguish this wa from being a tense flipper to a simple and, a conjunction and?
Putting accent on something, but I believe it's the why you put the accent on when you want to
Yeah,
make it a conjunction.
exactly. So if it's going to flip the tense, we have a wa, a long
Wow.
extended vowel, wa. If it's just going to be a conjunction, it's just wa. That's all it's going to be. If it's just a conjunction, it's going to be wa. But if it's going to be a flipper, if it's going to flip the tense, it's going to be wa. And that's going to be the signal to your ear. Okay, he's flipping the imperfect tense back to perfect. Okay. So wa yadabar is and he said. If it was just wa yadabar, if I shorten it to just wa yadabar, it's going to be and he will say. And he will say. But we know from the context it's not and he will say. It's and he said. So you have to put wa
Why
yadabar.
Yadabar?
Right. Okay. Then ya'o is the subject of the verb, the one doing the action of the bar. Next word is al, which is what?
Two.
Two. Now, this thing from ISUB Gay is in exchange with me, telling me that the letter that we call ah is not a vowel. It's a consonant. And that was how I said it is a vowel marker, which means it is a consonant that can be used to mark a vowel sound. And in this case, this word here, you have it marking which vowel? The vowel sound, ah, right? And he was saying that this letter or any vowel can never be used with another letter to form a single syllable. So what these guys are going to do in their little crew, they're going to pronounce this word, pronounce it Allah. That's the rule. They're going to pronounce it Allah. All right. And the problem with that is that in verse 2, we have a word right here. What's that word?
That's Allah.
That's Allah.
Allah.
And that word, even though they sound the same, in their language, they're going to say that they, I'm sorry, even though they're not spelled the same, they're going to say that they're pronounced the same. Allah and Allah. Okay. What I'm trying to point out is that their rules lead to gobbledygook. We know that in the language there are homonyms, meaning there are words that are spelled the same, they are pronounced the same, but they don't mean the same. But when you have a
What chapter
word
are
that
you
is
reading
spelled
from?
differently, Leviticus 23, verse 1 and 2, 3, and 4.
Okay. All right.
But when you have a word that's spelled the same differently like this, ah with la, and then here, Allah and ha, okay? To say that these two are going to be pronounced the same and yet mean different things is an absolute disaster for the language. That's why in 50 years, none of them have attained fluency because the language won't work. They won't understand each other. They're going to pretend like they do. But in a real life conversation situation, this language won't work. Their language won't work. Okay. The law here at the end of this preposition is closing the syllable. Letters will always at the end will close the syllable. They won't open another syllable unless it's indicating something new about the grammatical element of the word. Like it's going to be a suffix with a different meaning. It's going to be indicate some type of object. You, right? You in the masculine, you or in the feminine. So that's why we don't say Allah here. Like I was trying to tell folks, someone was asking me, how come we don't put the vowel at the end of each letter when we pronounce a word? Well, you don't do that, because when you have a consonant, you attach a vowel to it, right? Just like if you look at English and you look at the word for book, how do you spell book? How's book spelled in English?
B-O-O-K.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the letter B-O-O-K. Now, letter B is pronounced B, right? You have the B sound followed by an E vowel. So that's how you say the letter B. Okay, you do not say B when you pronounce the word book. What do you say?
Book.
Yeah, you just say the
B-O-O-K.
consonant. Yeah, you just hear the consonant sound. Book. You don't hear B ook. But that's how they're teaching people to pronounce our language, as if each letter has to have the vowel attached to it in the way we say the letter as a identifying name. Abba, Gada, Hawaza, those are just how we pronounce the letters individually. That's not a rule for how you pronounce words when you put these letters together to form a word. It's not the rule. That would make no sense. You can't do that in English. You can't do that in any other language. The consonant is the primary sound that you're going to hear, and then the vowel to form the word. And in our language, we write the vowels. And in this case, the word al here, this first letter is a vowel marker for the class A vowel, and then the la is closing the syllable. So you have al. I know I spend a lot of time on just this one little word, but I'm just trying to make a point. This is never going to be pronounced Allah. Ever, 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 ever. It's all. Okay. The Jews are saying L. That's wrong, but at least it's not grammatically incorrect. We're just arguing. We just have a different pronunciation. But the grammar is correct. You do not say Ella or Allah. You have to say al and close the syllable. This is a one-syllable word. Okay. So if you run into these guys and they try to tell you, and you show them this example, okay, ask them how come this word you're telling me is pronounced Allah is the same as this word, and this word over here means something different. That homonym that you're trying to create to save your dialect is creating a gobbledygook language. Gobbledygook. Okay, so this is the preposition to, and then the object, the person that's being spoken to is who?
Masha.
Masha, and then we have la amar, the infinitive saying. Now, because he's telling Masha to say something, he's speaking to Masha as a man. The next word is the imperative dabar, right? Speak. Now, what if he was talking to a woman? Would he say dabar?
Dabara.
Bara.
Dabare. No. Dabare. Okay. When you're using an imperative, in this case, it's intensified. So we put a little zip on the second radical. Dabar. That's to the man. Dabar. Speak. To a woman, you must say dabare. You put the. Don't let me. I'm going to write it here, but make sure I delete it. You put the ya at the end, and you have dabare if you're speaking to a woman. Okay. But if it's masculine entity, singular person, you're speaking to one man, it's dabar. To a woman, it's dabare. Okay, so dabar, I gotta say, I'm working from the actual file here. So
Just haven't
dabar,
learned your lesson yet, huh?
I'm being careful. I'm trying to be very careful.
Okay.
Okay, so dabar, and then we have al again, which is preposition to. Bene, which is in construct. This is the word for son, and the ya here indicates a plural noun in construct with the construct with the next noun.
Ya Osharal.
Okay, the sons or the children of Yahusharal. Then we have here, like I was saying,
Wa Amar.
now this is what
Wow,
this is where
Martha.
this is what happens here. What is ignore the wa here. What is Amartha?
And you say,
You
You said.
you said and you said you said, right? And the reason why the tha has an opening syllable, tha, and not th here is because we're talking to the man. It's masculine. This is the only time we see open syllables at the end of a word, is if it has something, if it's indicating something grammatically significant about the uh, the conjugation. And in this case, we're saying amartha because it's matches the pronoun atha. Okay, you, masculine. So amartha would be you said. Atha, amartha, you said. Wa is doing what tense?
Changing the
flipping it
tense.
around.
Right. So now it's wa amartha,
You
not
will
wa
say.
amartha. If you shortened it, yeah, you will say. There you go. That's why in class when we say wa salaktale, not wa salaktale, wa salaktale, it means you will pardon or pardon me. You will pardon me. Okay, wa salaktale. So amartha, wa amartha is you will say. It's flipping the tense around. Alham
to them.
Then
to them.
Moai.
Now, why hum voiced and not why is the ha not silent, even though it looks like it's in the middle of the word?
Suffix.
The
Suffix.
suffix.
Right. Because it's a suffix. It's actually the beginning of a new element. These are two words combined, the preposition and then the suffix for plural. Okay, third person plural, them. To them, alham. Then we have here moide ya'o. The word moide means fixed or pointed time. I like the word fixed because it means it doesn't roam in the calendar. They always hit on the same dates in the calendar. These fixed times, these fixed periods. Okay, if you translate it as seasons, which some translations do,
Mm-hmm.
then it's a little bit not so definite, because seasons in a lunar calendar can move around. They're not really fixed. They can bounce around. But in our calendar, they can't. Our holy days can't do that. They have to be fixed, not only on the day of the month, but the day of the week. Every year, they have to fall on the same day of the week and the same day of the month every single year without fail. They're fixed. Okay, so moed is for fixed time, and moede is the pluralization, and also being used in construct with the next noun, which is a proper name. So moed ya'o is
The times of Yahweh.
yeah
Fixed times
Fixed
of
times of
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
the fixed times of Ya'o.
That sounds
Okay,
better
these are
than
his.
holiday.
Say it again.
Sounds better than holiday. It sounds more definite and more, I guess you could say, strict.
Concrete. Yeah, concrete, man. We need to be precise. What are you talking about? That's what this does. If you look at it from the Gabari standpoint, this is not some murky, iffy thing that, oh, it's gonna be, like Easter. Okay, this year Easter's on Sunday. Oh, wait a minute, this year Easter's on Thursday. It changes. In the Gregorian calendar, the Easter holiday is never on the same day of the week. They'll push the actual observance of Easter to a Sunday. They'll manipulate the calendar so it's always falling on Sunday. But
Yeah,
Passover and the
different
lunar,
months and everything else.
yeah, Passover is always going to be moving around. It's not going to fall on the same day of the week every year.
What's the lock delay, my bang?
So,
The word Moide, we see that sometimes as Moidame with the ma at the end. Is that done for redundancy or emphasis?
no, Moedim is still plural of Moed, but here it's in construct with the next noun. So you have a Yah, not a Ma.
Okay, gotcha.
Moed Ya'o is the fixed times of Ya'o. Okay. Next word is the shar, relative pronoun, which means
Which or that?
which. And thakara o, we have a verb, ra and root,
Is it you will call
prefix with a. Yeah. You will call or you will proclaim, and the wa at the end is for the plural, second person plural. You all.
You will
So
call
the kara o, you all will proclaim. And then atham,
them.
them, with these, right? Atham. Makara a, this word makra is the word for right?
Say that again.
Makra.
Digitized.
Yeah, you went off.
Makra is the word for convocation. It's the holy gathering.
Oh, convocation.
Convocation.
Okay.
Yeah, convocation is the English word. It just means
Makra.
assembly, holy gathering. So we do gather on these days, these fixed days. And the ya here at the end is again because it's being pluralized and then made in construct with the next word, which is actually like an adjective. So makra e kadash is simply the holy assemblies, the holy convocations, the holy gatherings. And then we have Allah, the actual word that's pronounced Allah.
These.
These. Ham.
Them.
Them or they.
They.
And then the Moai Day here is different from this Moai Day because that one, it preceded a noun. So it was in construct. But this one does not. And this is simply,
My.
yeah, exactly. This is the suffix for first person possession. Moai
My
Day.
6 days.
Yeah, these are my fixed times. Right? So let's put it all together. Wayadabar Ya'o al Mashallah Amar. Dabar al Bene Ya'o Shra Amartha al Ham. Muaide Ya'o Ashar Takara Atham Makra e Kadash Allah Ham Muaide. Allah Ham Muaide.
Wayadabar Ya'o al Mashallah Amar. Dabar al Bnei Ya'oshiral. Wa Amartha al Ham. Moide Ya'o Ashar. The Kara'o. Atham. Makara A. Kadash Allah Ham. Moide.
So, not need any signs or dots or points. You simply need to know where letters are in the position of letters are in the word. That tells you how to break up your syllables and what vowels are where they go. But when they introduced Nakud, that destroyed all that. And now you have Nakud dictating vowel sounds that aren't there. There is no E in this syllable. It's simply mak. Makra A. Aim, Taisha, Malacha. Wabayom Hashabeae, Shabath Shabathon Makra Kadash. Chal Malacha La Taisho Shabath Hoa Leyao Bachal Moshabathecham. I know all you guys know exactly what I just said.
On the sixth day made.
No.
6 days.
Sheshath Yamem. Yamem.
6
Not
6
days.
Yam.
days.
6 days.
Sheshath Yamem. Thaisha.
You will make.
You would do.
Oh, 6 days
Malacha.
you'll make
Your work.
the work.
No.
Yeah. 6 days you will do work. 6 days you will do work. وَبَيَوْمْ هَشَبَيَّ
And in the
Day
days
7 days.
Shabath Shabathon Makra
Rest.
Kadash.
rest.
Yo.
Yeah, rest.
Gather
The holy
or convocation, set apart convocation.
Chol Malacha
All work,
La Taisho.
not you will do.
Shabath Ho'ah.
Rest is.
Rest
Sabbath
A
is.
Sabbath it is. Shabbat Ho'ah Laya'o.
Shabbat is to Ya'o.
The Shabbat is
In
L'chol
in all,
in all.
Moshabathecham. Moshab is your dwelling.
Your
Moshabathecham
dwellings,
is
yeah.
your dwellings, your
Your
possessions.
dwellings.
Okay.
Moshatacham.
Sheshath Yamim, Thaisha Malacha. Wabayom HaShabeyae Shabath Shabbathon. Makra Kadash Chol Malacha La Thaisho Shabbath Ho'ah. Why Ho'ah and not Ho? Why Shabbath Ho'ah and not Shabbath Ho?
Is Shabbath feminine?
Feminine.
Tov, Nachon. Shabbath is Nakabah. La Zachar. Nakabah. What is Nakabah? You guys should remember this.
Feminine, female, feminine.
Nakabah, La Zachar.
Zachar is male, masculine.
Tov. Shabbath Ho'ah Laya'o B'chol Moshabathecham. All your dwellings. Now, people are trying to say that that means that you can do this anywhere. Okay, and it's true. We can keep Shabbat if you're able to. If you don't have a job that makes you work on Shabbat, you can keep Shabbat anywhere, and you should if you can. But as we read, there's going to be some other stuff here. That doesn't matter where you are. You have to be at a you have to have something to be able to do these things. You have to have the tabernacle. So they are fixed times in our calendar. We see them. We're staring at them like kids in a museum behind glass. But in order for us to step behind the glass and actually engage and participate in this law, we've got to build a tabernacle. So before we let you, whoever wants to try to read verse 3, more than welcome. Okay, it moves. It moves around. But in our calendar, it can't do that. It has to be fixed. So every year we have the year begins on a 4th day of the week, Yom Rebi'ah, and then 3 days later we have the very first Shabbat of the year, which is the most important Shabbat of the year. Megod. Okay, you notice that it's spelled the same for both genders, but it can't be pronounced the same. Otherwise, you're going to have a non-binary language. Okay, everyone know what non-binary is? You guys in the States must have heard of what non-binary is by now.
yes, it's
Gender neutral.
gender neutral.
Gender neutral, right? I'm not man, I'm not female, I'm all of both.
Androgynous.
Right? They call it the queer, what's another word for it?
Androgynous. Abomination.
Androgynous.
Yeah. It can't happen in our language. Every pronoun that's referring to a man or a woman has to have its own vocalization. And I think that's true of, I don't want to, be presumptuous, but I think that's true of every language. When you say he or she in any language, it's not going to sound the same.
I can confirm that it's true for Spanish, Swahili, Arabic, Amharic, and what else did I study? Spanish, Swahili, Amharic.
It's also
Arabic.
German, Dutch.
Every language, right? I'm not crazy. I know I'm not crazy.
Oh.
Every language has distinctions for the masculine and feminine pronoun third person. Now, English has a neuter gender, he, she, and it. Okay, we don't have a neuter for gabar. We're just going to use the masculine ho for that if it's it. Or if it's a feminine it, we'll use hoa, but it's never going to be a third thing, it. So they would have had an argument with me if they were to say, well, maybe Hebrew has a neuter gender. But that would have fall apart because in Genesis 3 and 12, it's talking about the woman, Cho, and it calls her, uses this pronoun, referring to her, that she gave him the fruit. So the word is not going to be ho for her. It's going to, this has to be pronounced differently. It's going to be pronounced ho-ah if it's a she, and if it's a he, it's going to be pronounced ho, and that last letter is just going to step aside and be quiet. The ah at the end is just going to be a silent glottal stop. It's going to close out. You're just going to have ho for the masculine gender. So the word Shabath is feminine, so we can't say Shabath ho. It has to agree. So it has to say Shabath ho ah, because the word Shabath is a feminine noun. But I've forced them into a corner now. Now they're boxed into a corner, and now they're going to have to say that the pronoun in their made-up language is pronounced the same for both genders, and that creates a non-binary language where he is she and she is he when they're referring to someone in the third person. Okay, now they're going to pronounce it as ha-wa-ah. That's how their system works. Ha, wa, and then they're going to give this its own sound ah at the end. Ha-wa-ah. So ha-wa-ah means both she and he. And I want you to see how ridiculous that makes the language out to be, if that's the case. They're pronouncing the pronoun the same for both genders. That means the genders are blurred.
So they're serving an androgynous God.
Well, yeah, they can refer to him as a she or she as a he because they're using the same vocalization for the pronoun for both genders. Which
I mean, her name is Upright Goddess anyway.
I'm sorry?
Her name is Upright Goddess anyway.
Yeah, they're calling themselves Yasharala anyway. So yeah, I guess it works for them. But we can't allow that to, we cannot allow that to affect and infect what we're doing. They're misleading people, and they're trying to say, well, you're just teaching Jewish, you've been taught by the Jews. Okay, if you stay with me long enough, you'll see that what we are teaching here has got absolutely nothing to do with the Jewish Hebrew that I'm fluent in, and they're not. Yet they know my language better than me, right? I'm fluent in modern Hebrew. They're not, but they know modern Hebrew better than me, and they're going to tell me that I'm teaching modern Hebrew. Okay.
What? What? For real?
So yeah, that's what we're up against. We're up against people who think they know the language better than me, and they think I'm teaching Yiddish. And if any of you guys have any Jewish friends and you were to show them what we're doing in class, they would say, what the hell is that?
I just mentioned that in class the other night. I said people got to remember Moses was raised by the Egyptians, but they wasn't coming at him like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. He was raised by the Egyptians, but you led Yahushua. What's the difference?
Yeah, maybe they did. I don't know. We don't know the full story, right? What we have in Torah is what Moshe wrote. It was probably a lot of stuff he didn't say. Like they probably were calling all kind of names, Uncle Tom, house Negro. I mean, who knows? You know our people. It was probably vicious when he broke up that fight and killed the Egyptian, and then he came back and tried to settle the dispute. Moshe gives you the rated G version. Who are you? Are you a judge over us, right? It was probably a little bit more brutal than that, right? Who is this house Negro raised by Pharaoh trying to be judge over us? Go back to your palace. Go back to your jacuzzi or wherever you come from. So yeah. Okay, who's next?
Shashath Yam.
Takshebole. Okay. Wayadabar Yao al Mashallah Amar. Dabar al Bene Yao Sharal Amarta al Ham. Moade Yao Ashata Kara o Atham Makra e Kadash Allah Ham Moade Shashaf Yamem Thaisha Malacha, Wabayom Hashabea Shabath Shabathon Makra Kadash, Chol Malacha La Thaisho, Shabath Hoa Liyao, Bachal Moshabathecham, Ala Moade Yao, Makra Kadash Ashata Kara O Atham Bamoidam, Ba Chadash Hara'ashon, Ba Chadash Hara'ashon, Ba Arabai Rashar Lachadash. Okay, I want to repeat that so you guys can get the flavor. Ba Chadash Hara'ashon, Ba Arabai Rashar Lachadash. Okay. So the first, in verse 4, the first word is Allah, which means these. Moide Ya'o, we covered that. Makra'e Kadash, we covered that. Ashar Kara'o, we covered that. Atham Bamoidam, this is here you have, it's just the plural in the fixed times. Bamoidam. Okay, and then line 5, we have Ba Chadash. What is Chadash here?
Month.
Month. So the Ba prefix means in or on. Okay, Ba Chadash. Then we have here Ha Ra'ashon. The word Ra'ashon means first. So the Ha prefix for that, in front of that, which is a definite article, the is the first. So Ba Chadash Hara'ashon is the first month, in the first month. Our months don't have names, they are just numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and this is how you call month 1. Chadash Hara'ashon. Chadash Hara'ashon. Okay. Ba Arabai Rashar. What is Arabai? Rashar?
14.
4 and 10. Arabai is 4, Rashar is 10. So Ba Arabai Rashar is 14. La Chadash.
Of the month.
Of the month. You don't need to put the word day in there. It's assumed. It's implied. Right? In the first month, in the 14th of the month. Okay. Next word is Bain.
Between.
Right? Ha Gharabim. Gharabim. We sound the guttural
Evenings.
there. Yeah, between the evenings. Pasach liya'o.
Passover to Ya'o.
Ya'o.
Passover
Okay.
to Ya'o.
Passover to Ya'o. Wa ba chamasha gashar. Chamasha gashar.
5, 10, so 15.
Yom lachadash.
Day to the month.
Hazah.
This.
Chag hamatzoth.
Feast.
Feast.
Of the unleavened bread.
Laya'o.
Laya'o. To Ya'o.
Top.
So, Wakalak Velema Bain. So if Hamatzot, the word bread ain't in there, it's just Hamatzot Passover. Khan?
I don't. Could you repeat it? Say it one more time.
So Kag Hamatzot, you're just saying feast of unleavened. There's no bread in there. You told us.
Yeah, it's feast of unleavened, and it means anything that we talked about, any food, okay, that has been leavened, that has been risen.
So we shouldn't be saying feast of unleavened bread. We should be just saying feast of unleavened. Then.
Yeah, if you want to translate it, I don't like to translate it, but yeah, if you want to translate it into English and be correct, you don't put bread. There's no word bread there.
Okay, that's yes, because I speak English. I want to know how to say it in English. So
yeah,
don't say unleavened. Try not to say bread anymore. So it's
it's just Chag Hamatzot.
Chag Hamatzot. Shabath.
Shalom. Shabbat shalom. So the word Chag is new, I think, for you guys in your vocabulary. Chag means feast. Chag. 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 The Arabs have another way of saying this, because in their language this becomes Hajj, right?
Ah.
And that's their annual trip to, or I think they have to do it once in their life, not every year. Is it annual? They have to do the Hajj?
It's not annual. Just once in your lifetime.
Once in your lifetime, you've got to make the pilgrimage to Mecca. Well, guess what? In our calendar, we have to make the pilgrimage to the tabernacle how many times?
Three times a year.
3 times in the year. You got to get your ass to the tabernacle. You can't do it at home. You can't. This feast right here, which is the first one, this first Hag, cannot be kept at home or anywhere in the world you want to be. You have to get your ass to the tabernacle, which means you have to build it. Which means you have to look through the scriptures and find out where can it be built. Right? You got to do the work here and search for the word of Yahweh. Search for the word of Yahweh and then be obedient to it. It is not going to be something you just go online and Google, find it, or go into a bookstore and pull it off the shelf. Okay, you got to start learning your language, digging into Torah, and then looking through the prophets, also in Gemara, and search for the word of God. It's treasure hidden in the field. When you find it, you want to sell everything you have and go buy that field. Right? And this becomes your goal in life. Now you have a reason. You're not just here to, grow up, become a parent, have kids, pay taxes, and die. Right? Watch football games and watch, cheer for your favorite sports team every week. That's not the purpose of your life. That's not why you were put here. Right? You were put here to serve Yahweh, proclaim his name, proclaim his glory, build his tabernacle. That's why. So that's what the word Chag means, and we do it 3 times a year. All right, I'm going to let you guys try that argument that the harder sounds of a language preceded the softer versions of those same phonemes. And if you look at the Arabic word for Hajj versus our word for Chag, which of the 2 words would you think came first?
Chag.
Yeah, that's the harder sound, and then over time, centuries go by and people start speaking different dialects, and Arabic didn't really appear till the 1st century as a continuous attested spoken language. You get Hajj. Right? But people are using Arabic to reconstruct or dictate what Hebrew is supposed to sound like. It really should be the other way around. Okay, Arabic has 3 vowels in their classical system: A vowel, the I vowel, and the U vowel. And scholars use that to say, well, that must have been true for the earliest Semitic language must have been A, I, and U, because that's what they see in classical Arabic, and the Arabic that is still spoken today, even though it has other vowels now. But the earlier language had just 3 vowels: A, I, and U, short vowels, and the long versions of those same vowels. Okay, so basically just 3, and then the short and long forms of each. And in Gabare, we're saying that those vowels are fine except for the U. Okay, the U vowel is a derivative. It can't be the primitive or the original because it's a derivative. You can extrapolate U from another vowel.
Oh.
So the O vowel should be the original, because you can't extract O from anything. O is a pure vowel. It does not. You can't pull it out of another sound, another vowel. And scholars know this, so what they try to say is that O is derived from the diphthong AU. And they call it the I can't even, sometimes I just get tongue twisted. The monophthonalization of the diphthong AU, the ah sound, eventually became O. And this is a crafty way of trying to say that the O sound in Hebrew is not U sound is precedes that. If that's true, then the name that we call our Father Yah-oh is also a derivative. It can't be the way his name will be pronounced. And that just clashes with the evidence that we see in the Dead Sea Scrolls, in the Egyptian records, the Aramaic records, the Akkadian records, and the Demotic records, where his name was transliterated into those scripts. And they all are saying Yah-oh, Yah-oh, Yah-oh everywhere you go, everywhere you look. Even in Latin, it's Yah-oh. Greek, it's Yah-oh. Aramaic, it's Yah-oh. Demotic, it's Yah-oh. Akkadian, it's Yah-oh. Egyptian, hieroglyphic, it's Yah-oh. So that O vowel is a stumbling block for a lot of people because Arabic doesn't have it. When the Arabics say hello to each other, what do they say?
Salam.
Shalom, salam, salam.
Salam.
Right. And so you got people saying, well, see, that's the way it should be sound. That's the way there should be no O. You shouldn't say shalom. It should be shalom.
Yeah, Arabic only has U and U.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
So no O. So our argument is that, well, that's because Arabic is a younger language, and the O vowel, okay, degraded into U in their language. Degraded from O to U in their language. It was originally O, but it degraded to U because you hear U at the very end of O. If you say O long enough, O, it turns into U.
Yeah, it contracts.
Into U. So the argument that we have is, look, that's not a pure vowel. It can't be the original. Shalom, salam is how they're saying it now, but that's not, the original has to be shalom. And then over time, it became shalom, 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 salam. That's what happened. Not the other way around. You can't go from salam, 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 shalom, shalom. You can't go that way. The direction has to be from shalom to salam, not from salam to shalom. The Jews are not that, they did not have the ability to completely hijack linguistics and force a vowel in there that is not there. There is a vowel there, but it can't be you in that word shalom. It can't be you, not the original.
So excuse me, my bang. Is it true that the Arabic language didn't even have an alphabet? I mean, that they borrowed the alphabet system from the Assyrians.
Well, you mean they're what they call like an abjad script, which is basically all consonants. All the Semitic languages using the alphabetic script for their alphabet, and the Arabic alphabet isn't like I said, isn't really attested until 125 AD. So there was plenty of scripts
exactly
before that. The Assyrians wrote an alphabetic script for Aramaic. That's why we call it the Assyrian square script. It was devised by the Assyrians for writing Aramaic, and then the converts used that they translate all this Bible manuscripts into that dialect because that became the most dominant script at the time. So when the Jews came into the scene, they switched all of our manuscripts over to the Assyrian square script. And the Paleo manuscripts, they ceased to be made until today, until we came on the scene, and now until today, and now we're the first people producing the manuscripts back in the original script, where they belong. See, it wasn't for them. That's why Yahweh made them use a wrong script. It's not for them. It's for the real people in the last days to restore. Okay, and even the name, it wasn't for them. That's why he made them shut up. He made them say Hashem and Adonai and Elohim. He made them say other names.
Mm-hmm.
He made the nation say Jehovah. Right? He made all these nations say all these other names, even though at the beginning they knew, all these other nations knew it was Yahweh. But Yahweh, in his infinite wisdom over time, he made these other nations, he made everyone forget, and they started saying these other crazy names: Jesus, Jehovah, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahuwah. And here come us, the Johnny come latelys. Nope, it's Yahweh. What? That's crazy. That's crazy. You know, we're causing such a commotion because all the other names have been floating around for years, and here we come saying, nope, that's all wrong. It's Yahweh. Oh, and here's the evidence. Like they're like, what? You know, they can't even. It just rocks their brain to think, well, how come we missed this? How come this is the first time we're hearing this? How come no one's ever talked about this? You must have just made this up.
That's the miracle.
Right? No, I didn't make it up. It was there all along, and there are a circle of scholars who talk about it, but they don't, they don't rock the boat. They're not interested in the name debate. So they use the conventional Yahweh just to, be done with it. They don't want to argue about how you say this name, but they all know that the oldest attested pronunciation is Yahweh. That's indisputable. There is no Yahweh. There is no Yahweh. Those are all modern reconstructions based on guesswork. Okay, guesswork. People thinking they can look at the word and just by its, without knowing any rules or any history, they can make a determination as to how it's pronounced. Okay, but when I went searching for the name, I wanted to remove all the guesswork. I didn't want to have to look at it and guess. I didn't want that. I wanted to find a clear attested vocalization that's in the record that I don't have to, be responsible for. Oh, he devised that pronunciation. No one's gonna be able to pin that on me because it's not something I came up with. I simply am going back to the attested vocalization that's in the record, and it's not something that anyone can say that they made up. It's there, whether you like it or not. It's there. People were just dismissing it for what they didn't know about it because they were told some other name. So, okay, let's switch to English. It's getting late. We gotta get it moving. Who would like to read 23, 1-3, and then we'll switch if someone else wants to read, or do we have someone?
Yeah, I got it up.
Okay.
Well, how many verses? 3?
Yeah.
And Yahweh spoke to Masha, saying, speak to the Bnei Yosheral and say to them, the appointed times of Yahweh, which you are to proclaim as set apart gatherings, my appointed times are these. 6 days work is done, but the 7th day is a Shabath of rest, a set apart gathering to you. You do no work. It is a Shabath to Yahweh in all your dwellings. Come on.
Come on. So the most important day of the year, the first holiday of the year, is the Shabbat day. That begins our calendar of feast days, is the Shabbat day. Now you notice it says a holy gathering because we can gather on this day. We can gather, and that proves that scripture where it says, do not leave your house, is not talking about the you can't go outside your actual apartment or home. Okay, you can go outside, you just can't go on some journey that's going to require you to be working. If you're getting on a plane or a train and you're going across the country or something, that's an effort, that's work. So you don't want to do that. But you can go outside, you can leave your homes, and you can gather. Okay, you can have a set apart gathering. And read the Torah and like what we're doing now, except not virtually. You can do it physically, gather. Okay, and that's where the whole synagogue concept came from us, because what we would do is we would gather on Shabbat and read and study Torah and the scriptures, and that's what synagogues were schools where we would teach Torah. Okay, that's what all synagogue means, place of gathering. And the Shabbat was the main day for that. Okay, 4-6.
These are the appointed times of Yahweh's set apart gatherings, which you are to proclaim at their appointed times. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, between the evenings, is the Passover to Yahweh. And on the 15th day of this month is the festival of unleavened to Yahweh. 7 days you are to eat unleavened. Come on.
So we got through that. Everyone enjoy this year's unleavened feast?
Leviticus 23.
Khan.
Khan.
Okay, so you can see my calendar up here.
Khan.
We had Pesach on, what was it, April 7th, day 14, and then we had the 7 days of unleavened. And you're gonna have to excuse me. Nashe Loet still says bread on the calendar.
I excuse you this time.
So you get through the 7 days of the unleavened, and then we have another holiday coming up. All right. So the first, you can read that, 7 through 9.
7 through 9. On the first day you have a set-apart gathering. You do no servile work, and you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahweh for 7 days. On the 7th day, it is a set-apart gathering. You do no servile work. And Masha spoke, and Yahweh spoke to Masha, saying, "Speak to."
Okay.
Oh.
You can stop there.
Okay. Yeah,
so at the first day of the Feast of Unleavened, which is the day 15th, we're supposed to gather. And we're supposed to gather not just anywhere. We're supposed to be at the tabernacle, right? We can't do that until we have one. Mm-hmm. And also the 7th day, the 21st day, we're supposed to gather at the tabernacle. Special day, no work. We can't do that until we have a tabernacle, right? So, all right, 9 through 12.
And Yahweh spoke to Masha, saying, "Speak to the Bnei Yosra, and you say to them, when you come into the land which I give you, and shall reap its harvest, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest to the priest. And you shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh for your acceptance. On the morrow, after Shabath, the priest waves it." Come on.
Okay, so this is the first thing we do after the 7 days of unleavened. We are to wait until the Shabath, the first Shabath after the holiday, which is the 26th day of the month. Okay, that's the day when we go out into the harvest, and you pluck up a sheath of the harvest, and the priest goes to the tabernacle and waves it before Yahweh, according to that's the law in verse 11. Before we could begin to just rush into the fields and harvest the crops, we do this. Mm-hmm. On the Shabbat after the holiday, which is the 26th day of the month, which is a Sunday, we take a sheaf from the field, we bring it to the tabernacle, and the priest, the high priest, waves it before Yahweh. So what do we need? We need a tabernacle. What else do we need? We need a high priest. Okay, we need these things in order to keep this law. These laws right now are on the books and can't be kept because we don't have the tabernacle and the priesthood.
And we also need to have farms and start growing crops again too.
Come on, we also need to have land and be able to grow things again. Okay, we are going to be taught all over again in the wilderness what to do. It's going to be training camp, and we're going to be bringing back all these laws and statutes and commandments back to life in the wilderness. Yeah, what a day that will be when we have a high priest that's wearing the vestments, the uphold with the 12 stones, glorious stones. That thing is going to be worth more than Wall Street. If you look at the stone and you try to find, okay, where can I find this stone? Where can I find that stone? It's going to be like mission impossible for our people to get those stones and make that breastplate. Not only the gold that's used, not only that, but the rest of the trappings of his vestments, and the gold bar that's across his head, which has the name of Yahweh inscribed. That's going to be tremendous amount of wealth that we will need to do that. And that's going to be a glorious day when our people are actually putting those vestments on a man of our people and anointing him to be high priest after how many thousands of years. Okay, that's what we have to look forward to. That's what we're aiming towards. That. Okay, that man, I don't know if he's born yet, but he's going to be very, 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 very big, special day for our people. Talk about restoration. Okay, so that happens. The waving of the sheaf is on the 26th day of the month, which is the morning after the first Shabath. So the first Shabath after Passover or after unleavened will be the 25th day, right? That's the first Shabath after the whole holiday is over. And then in the morning, because days begin in the morning, that's when the priest would wave the sheaf before Yahweh at the tabernacle. Okay, 12 through 14.
And on that day, when you wave the sheaf, you shall prepare a male lamb, a year old, a perfect one, as a burnt offering to Yahweh, and its grain offering 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil, an offering made by fire to Yahweh, a sweet fragrance, and its drink offering 1/4 of a hin of wine. And you do not eat bread or roasted grain or fresh grain until the same day that you have brought an offering to your Elohim, a law forever throughout your generations and all your dwellings. Aman and aman.
On. So before you begin to eat of the fields, before you rush out there and start, bringing your baskets and harvesting crops, what are we to do? First thing, we offer to Yahweh. We make the offering.
Bring that offering to Yahweh.
Yeah, before you eat anything, before you touch that field and you start digging in, you bring an offering to Yahweh. Okay, that's the beginning of the spring harvest cycle. This day right here, day 26. Now we can all go out and begin to harvest our fields, bring in the new corn, right, and then we can enjoy leavened food again. We can eat all the leaven you want. Okay, you were starved of leaven for 7 days, and now you can gorge yourself with fresh, fluffy, floury baked breads again. Okay, so leaven is not sin. If it was sin, it wouldn't be something we could indulge in. It shouldn't be compared to sin. He simply wanted us to abstain from it, to remind us of how we were thrust out of Mitzrayim. That's all. Just to remind us you had to leave in a hurry and you didn't have time to make your bread. Okay. That's all we're told. That's the only reason we're told to not eat leavened food. All right, 15 through 17.
And from the morrow after the Shabath, from the day that you bought the sheaf of the wave offering, you shall count for yourselves 7 completed Shabaths. Until the morrow after the 7th Shabath, you count 50 days. Then you shall bring a new grain offering to Yahweh. Bring from your dwellings for a wave offering 2 loaves of bread of 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour. They are baked with leaven, first fruits to Yahweh. Mom.
So even the food that we dedicate to him is leavened now. When the priest makes those breads, and we're supposed to make 12 loaves and put it on the showbread and the offering, those are leavened. Okay, but notice he says you are to count 7 complete Shabbats until you get to the 50th day. The morrow after the 7th Shabbat is the 50th day. This is where the New Testament, well, I almost called it the Bible. This is where the Greek New Testament gets the word Pentecost from. When you're reading the blasphemous book of Acts, where it talks about chapter 2, the day of Pentecost. Pentecost means the 50th. And the Christian tradition is that, Jesus rose again, then he spent 40 days coming and going like a ghost, visiting his disciples, and then he left them on the 40th day. And then 10 days later, or thereabout, the day of Pentecost came when the disciples were in the upper room and they began to speak in different languages on the day of Pentecost. Okay, that never happened. That story is a lie. And if you read the details, you can see that's a lie. But why the story? Why is the Greek New Testament, the authors of that chapter, trying to associate the day of Pentecost in the Christian tradition with an actual holiday in the law?
to make the Messiah seem like he is actually in the Torah is not.
Replacement theology.
Replacement theology, right? But we're going to see as we keep reading what's significant about these 7 Shabbats and why is it that we have to do something special on the 50th day, the day after the 7th Shabbat. So where are we today? We've already missed day 26. Our high priest was supposed to wave the sheaf on April 19th. Okay, we missed that. Now we are in month 2, and it's second day. This is the second Shabbat. I'm sorry, the first Shabbat. So today this is number 7, the first one, and then we've got 6 more to go. Okay, so that means next week will be the second Shabbat on May 2nd, the 9th day of the second month. Then on the 16th day there will be the third Shabbat. I'm curious to see this. You know, the law has a provision that if you're unclean, if you did something to make yourself unable to keep Passover on the correct day, that you could bump it and postpone it until the second month of the 14th day. You know, I'm very curious to see if that's their plan in ISU.
How the camps are gonna do it?
Yeah,
they're gonna try something. They got something up their sleeve. I don't think it's gonna work out because I think we're still gonna be under that COVID restriction. But
yeah, they said here. He said here. The Turte said May 15th.
Yeah,
I'm like, wow.
Yeah, and they're pretty much saying that in the New York and New Jersey areas, like May 15th. Some of the places like in Georgia and South Carolina are trying to open a little earlier, but up here in the Northeast, they're pretty much sticking with their guns. It's going to be May 15th or the end of May.
Yeah, I heard someone say June, July, September. Like, what? No, you're gonna starve people. People are gonna die they're gonna die from stuff that's got nothing to do with COVID. You know, domestic abuse, spousal abuse, you know, child molestation, suicide.
You know, excuse my language, but like that lone gun shooter guy that goes in because he's crazy because he lost his job and
something is wrong.
If your wife wishing for sports, if your wife wishes for sports to come back on, that's not right.
Yeah, it's definitely showing you people's true colors. Now I get there's a lot of people who are mentally ill, and week will be day 16. The fourth Shabbat will be day 23 of month 2, which is May 16. The 5th one will be May 23rd. The 6th one will be day 7th of month 3. And then the 7th and final one will be the 14th day of month 3. 14th day of month 3. And the next day will be the 50th day, which we call the Feast of Weeks. And that's when we'll have another special holiday. Now, if you look at Torah, and we looked at the dates when we left Mitzrayim and we went into the wilderness, it says we arrived at the foot of Mount Sinai in the 3rd month, right? And then we had to do some preparations for the descending of Yahweh to come down and speak to us and give us the 10 commandments. So what's happening in the book of Acts? What's happening in the book of Acts chapter 2 is they're saying in a roundabout way theologically, what they're saying is that the day of Pentecost in Acts chapter 2 was a sort of like a revisit or fulfillment of when the covenant was given to the people of Israel, people of Yahushua. That is to them the beginning of the new covenant. So when the laws were given to us in the 3rd month, around the time of the Feast of Weeks, that began for us our covenant relationship with Yahweh. And in the New Testament, it's not the death of Christ. That's the beginning of it. But the new covenant really gets kicked into gear and gets initiated and gets activated on the day of Pentecost, when Peter and those disciples supposedly preached this word in different languages, and now you're attracting all these people to come into the church, 3,000 in one day. That's the beginning of the church. That's the true, to them, the beginning of the church, the day of Pentecost. Just like in our Torah, the beginning of our nation in the covenant with Yahweh was in the 3rd month, when we were gathered together at the foot of Mount Sinai. So it is replacement theology. It is a way of saying, this is the old way, but it was really pointing to Christ. It was really pointing to the day of Pentecost. All that stuff that they did in the Old Testament, that was just figures of what was to come, pointing to the new revelation, the new covenant that would be ratified by the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. That's what's happening in the book of Acts. It's nullifying Torah. It's making it obsolete and old, and it's telling you that that was then, this is now. Everybody follow me?
Con.
Anybody disagree? Will they have another take on it? All right. So where do we stop? Verse
17, I think.
17. Okay. 18 through 20.
And besides the bread, you shall bring 7 lambs a year old, perfect ones, and 1 young bull and 2 rams. They are a burnt offering to Yahweh, with their grain offering and their drink offerings, an offering made by fire for a sweet fragrance to Yahweh. And you shall offer 1 male goat as a sin offering, and 2 male lambs a year old as a peace offering. And the priest shall wave them besides the bread of the first fruits as a wave offering before Yahweh, besides the 2 lambs. They are set apart to Yahweh for the priest. Come
on. So that happens, that's supposed to happen for us on the 15th day of month 3, which is going to be for us June 7th in the pagan Gregorian calendar. And I wish we were in the wilderness and we had the tabernacle and we were getting ready for this. Okay, every year that goes by, we miss it. We're not able to do it. Okay, but the 50th day is the day when we have a special gathering called the Feast of Weeks. And this is in the middle, not the early June, so it's really when the harvest spikes, and now you've got a chance to really bring in the richness of what the fields have produced, right? Because early spring is when the harvest starts to green and starts to get ready, and then you get through spring, and then when you get into when you start getting into the summer months, then other fruits kick in as well. Your grapes, your fruits, all these other stuff starts kicking in, and we're supposed to stop and also have a special gathering for that, because we're recognizing where all this stuff is coming from. It's coming from Yahweh blessing us for us keeping His commandments, and to recognize Him first before we indulge. And that's the beauty of our law. It's a cycle of our law. He would bless us, bless our land, and we would do this yearly, annually, all year, every year we would do this routinely, fixed days of the year. Okay, and we have to get back to that. All right, the next 3 verses.
And on the same day you shall proclaim a set-apart gathering for yourselves. You do no servile work on it, a law forever in all your dwellings throughout all your generations. And when you reap the harvest of your land, do not completely reap the corners of your field when you reap. You do not gather any gleaning from your harvest. Leave them for the poor and for the stranger. Anake Ya'o.
Come on, so again, it makes laws, provisions for the stranger, which means they are among us. They are living amongst us, and we are to leave the gleanings, the edges of the field, not to harvest it completely. Leave that for them, for the stranger and the poor among you. So if strangers aren't supposed to even be among us, then what is this law talking about? Is it talking about, our people who were born abroad. That doesn't make any sense. It's talking about strangers who come to live amongst us. All right, 23. Well,
was this what Ruth did when she gleaned in Boaz's fields?
yeah, that's exactly what she was doing, and it shows you that she was not of our people. She was told what to do because she was kindred. She was married to one of our people, so she was technically an in-law of the family. She wasn't a complete stranger. She was an in-law, and by right, she had dibs on somebody in the. She had dibs because her husband died. She had dibs on somebody in that family to be her next husband, and that's what her mother-in-law told her to do. Okay, this is what I want you to do. Go into the field and, make yourself visible to the owner. And he had to be like 3 times her age. I'm exaggerating, but Boaz, they're saying his name's Boaz, but Boaz couldn't have been her age. He had to be an old guy, because when he looked at her, he said, "Wow, you are a truly exceptional young woman to have picked me out of all the people to be your next husband. You could have picked some young, strapping, jock running around here, handsome GQ guy. You picked me." But that's the story. So yeah, you're right.
Shalom.
Shalom. So what are we, 23 to 25?
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the Bnei of Yosharal, saying, in the 7th month, on the first day of the month, you to have a rest, a remembrance of blowing of trumpets, a set-apart gathering. You do no servile work, and you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahweh. Come on.
Okay, so that's this. We went to the 2 Chags of the year, Passover and unleavened, which is 2 back-to-back holy days, so they're really combined into one. Passover and unleavened is one. The second one is the Feast of Weeks, okay, which is going to happen in the 15th day of the 3rd month. That's the second Chag that we have to appear at the tabernacle for. And then the third one is going to be the feast in the 7th month. Now, the 7th month begins with a special day, and that's what the Nashe just read. And the first day of the 7th month, we have the feast of blowing the trumpets. So for this year, that's not going to be until September 23rd, the first day of the 7th month, when we will have the memorial of making loud noise. And I think every year we just go outside and scream Yahweh's name as loud as we can. If you don't have an instrument to do it, use your vocal cords to do it, and then we'll make a recording like we did and have some fun with it. So that's not going to be till September 23rd. And then on the 10th day of that same month, we're going to have the Day of Atonement. Now, this is where folks get confused, because this day begins at sunset. The Day of Atonement is actually the 10th day, begins at sunrise, but the Shabath associated with that day begins the day before at sunset. So let's keep reading. We read 26 to 28. It's 29 to 31 now.
20. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
20.
You got 27?
Yeah. 27.
26.
On the 10th day of this 7th month is the Day of Atonement. It shall be a set-apart gathering for you. You shall afflict your beings and shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahweh. You shall do no work on the same day, for it is the Day of Atonement, to make atone for you before Yahweh, your Elohim. For any being who is not afflicted on that same day, he shall be cut off from his people.
Okay. So the Day of Atonement is the 10th day of the month. And we know the days begin at sunrise. That's the Day of Atonement. But keep reading the next 3 verses.
And any being who does any work on that same day, that being I shall destroy from the midst of his people. You do no work, a law forever throughout your generations and all your dwellings. It is a Shabath of rest to you, and you shall afflict your beings. On the 9th day of the 9th month at evening, from evening to evening, you observe your Shabath.
Okay, the 9th day of the month of this month being the 7th month, not the 9th month.
Mm-hmm.
So when the 9th day comes, which for us is going to be day 9 of that month, and that's going to fall on October 1st. That day is going to begin at sunrise. And you do everything to prepare, because when it's sundown, the Shabbat begins. This is the only time of the year where Shabbat begins at sundown. Okay? It begins at sundown and it ends on the next day, day 10 at sundown. It's the only time. This is a special Shabbat where it begins at sundown and it ends the following sundown. And the reason why it does that is because the Day of Atonement is supposed to be a day set apart for affliction. But look what day it is of the week. What day of the week is it?
Is it Thursday?
No.
Friday.
What day 10 of the 7th month is what day?
Oh, Friday.
Ashanti.
Friday. So you can't, so Yahweh is telling you, I'm not going to make them start the Shabbat
Oh, yeah.
on that day, because it's going to run back to back with the next Shabbat. They're not going to have time to prepare for the weekly Shabbat, which I've already told them is the most important day of the week of the calendar.
Right.
So now he bumps it back. He bumps back Shabbat to begin in the evening of day 9, so that you have a window of time on day 10 to prepare for the weekly Shabbat, which is going to start in the morning. That's why the law is set up this way. That's why we have a unique Shabbat that starts from sunset the day prior on day 9. So then day 10 in the morning when you begin your self-affliction, right? That ends at sundown. And then you can go to work. You can start to get yourself ready, cook, prepare, whatever you need to do, because the next sunrise is going to be the weekly Shabbat with it, which is the most important day of the year. Does everybody see that? So don't let anyone pull you to this verse and say, oh, days begin at sundown. See, it says right here, Shabbat is from sundown to sundown. Yeah, that's the only time it says that, though. It's the only time we have a Shabbat that begins at sundown. The day is still starting at sunrise, and that's so that we can prepare for the weekly Shabbat, which is day 11 of the month. Okay, 33 to 35.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to Bnei Yoshual, saying, on the 15th day of this 7th month is the festival of tents for 7 days to Yahweh. On the first day, it is a set-apart gathering to you. You do no servile work. Mom.
Okay, so this is really the third Chag of the year is Tabernacles. Tabernacles. Okay, and it begins on the 15th day of the 7th month. The first day is a holy convocation, no work. That's going to be for us October 7th, day 15, October 7th. Then we have 7 days. Okay. And again, this is supposed to be a time for us to gather, come together, and the priests are busy in the temple offering up the offerings every day, and we're having a a ball, a giant cookout every day. Okay, worshiping, praising in the presence of our Elohim, who is with us, not somewhere off in the distance anymore, but literally down in the tabernacle with us. We are meeting with him and having a festival in his presence at the tabernacle. That's what this is about. And this is this third part of the year is because this is also the end of the harvest cycle. The 7th month, we call it the autumn. The autumn harvest is the end of the harvest cycle and the beginning of a new harvest cycle. This is when you start to plant again. So you basically end all the harvesting and then you begin planting for the next year's crops and the autumn season. And that's why the Jews, because they don't know any better, they start their calendar in the seventh month. They call that Rosh Hashanah, Tishri first, which is the 7th month in the Babylonian calendar. To them, that's the new year, because they don't understand that that's just the beginning of a harvest, the end of the harvest season and the beginning of another harvest season. But they've turned it into making it the new year for them. Seventh month is new year. What kind of sense does it make to call your new year beginning in the seventh month?
None.
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. No culture says, oh, it's new year. Well, what month? It's month 7. But that's new year. It's wrong. And, growing up, spending my time in single, I always knew that's wrong. This is crazy. Why you call it, the month begins, month 1 is the beginning of the year. Why is that not called Rosh Hashanah? Well, tradition, it's wrong. Month 7 is not the new year. Month 7 is simply the end of the harvest cycle, and you begin planting and sowing your crops and getting ready for the next year, 6 months later, when you can begin to reap barley and all that other stuff again. That's all it is. All right. The next 3 verses.
For 7 days you bring an offering made by fire to Yahweh. On the 8th day there should be a set-apart gathering for you, and you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahweh. It is a closing festival. You do no Sarah work. These are the appointed times of Yahweh, which you proclaim as a set-apart gatherings, to bring an offering made by fire to Yahweh, a burnt offering, a grain offering, a slaughtering, and drink offerings as commanded for every day. Besides the Shabaths of Yahweh, and besides your gifts, and besides all your vows, and besides all your voluntary offerings which you give to Yahweh. Come on.
Come on. So this is the end. This is the end of our holy days. We only have those 3 times of the year. So month 7 is the final one. And that's it. After month 7, we got the calendars blank until month 1 again. Nothing to do. The Jews populate their calendar with Hanukkah in month 9 and Purim in month 12, and right, all those holidays are based off of the lunar calendar. We don't go by the lunar calendar, so we don't do them. We don't do Hanukkah, and we don't do Purim. Even Purim is not really. That's extremely unbiblical. That holiday has nothing to do with Thor at all. It's basically based on a myth of a woman who married a pagan king named Esther. Her name was Ishtar, which they Judaized to Esther. And then someone had fun with King James, and they put her name in Acts for the Passover. They call it Easter, which is the same name. All right. And that's not really Luke's fault, because he does use the correct word Pascha in the Greek, but the translation, the King James translation, they put Easter in there for no rhyme or reason. All of a sudden, they're calling Passover by the name of Easter after that goddess Ishtar. All right, so that's our holy calendar, the 3 times of the year where we come together. And now let's just read the next 3 verses, 39 to 41.
On the 15th day of the 7th month, when you gather in the fruit of the land, observe the festival of Yahweh for 7 days. On the 1st day is a rest, and on the 8th day a rest. And you shall take for yourselves on the 1st day the fruit of good trees, branches of palm trees, twigs of leafy trees, and willows of the stream. You shall rejoice before Yahweh ala Akah for 7 days. And you shall observe it as a festival to Yahweh for 7 days in the year. The law forever in your generations, observe it in the 7th month. Amen.
Amen. Are we doing that now?
La.
Can anyone say that they're doing that? Any camp, anyone say that they're doing these things now? No, they're not. They're not. So we have to show them. We have to be the ones to establish these things. And that's what's going to cement our position as the Magdal Gadar, the tower of the flock, the one that's being used to kick the restoration into gear and to make all the rest of our people see us as a beacon and start to follow. What we're doing on Facebook is only having a minimal impact, obviously, because we got so much noise and chatter and people, keyboard warriors who, you know, they want to attack character instead of the argument. That's fine. But when they actually see boots on the ground and we're actually doing these things, it's the, you can't, what are you going to do? You know, your mouth is just going to have to be zipped. And that's what I want to see. That's what I'm eager to see. Okay, finish out this chapter, and we can open it up.
Dwell in booths or tents for 7 days, all you who are native Yasharaleim. Dwell in tents, so that your generations know that I made Bnei Yasharal dwell in tents when I bought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. Anake Ya'o Alaeka. Thus did Masha speak of the appointed times of Ya'o to the Bnei of Yasharal. Aman. Well, Ya'o.
Well, this is a special time when we actually get to make booths, tents. And we're supposed to live in them to remind us that we were living in booths for 40 years in the first wilderness. Well, guess how special it's going to be when we actually do it in the second wilderness. Okay, it's going to be an amazing, amazing thing when we are actually fulfilling this commandment. What the Jews are doing, I don't know if you guys have Jewish friends, but they have a little makeshift construction with some sticks and some leaves that they can do outside in their backyard, a little hut that they call it a sukkah, that they can make, which they think is keeping this law. They do it in their own homes, wherever they are. Or if you go to the synagogue, they'll have an area outside in the back or next to the synagogue where they will build a sukkah. Okay. But where does the law say is the only place you can build the Sukkot?
At the tabernacle.
At the tabernacle. You need the tabernacle. You can build a hut all day long in your house, wherever you are. You're not keeping the law. That's not the law. The Jews have created their own religion by making up their own traditions, telling you that you can make these little huts wherever the heck you want. And now you see our people doing the same thing. They're going to these, what are they, national parks, whatever, bringing their little cookout camps and their little tents, and they think that that's keeping the law. I think IUIC does that. Some of these other groups, they do that. It's like they're going on a little camping trip. They take the family on a little camping trip.
That's exactly what that is. It's a camping trip.
Yeah, that's great. Have fun. But guess what? That's not the law. You're not keeping the law. It's not what it says for us to do. You need the tabernacle built. You need the priesthood in place. You need the sacrifices and the offerings to be done. This is not just a time for you to go cook out somewhere and go camp out somewhere. You're supposed to bring this party to the tabernacle, right? And rejoice before Yahweh at his house. You're supposed to bring the party to his house, not your own house or not your own whatever. You know, you don't go to the beach and build a tent and say, oh, I'm keeping the Feast of Tabernacles. No, you're not. Okay, you got to build the tabernacle and do what the law says before you can claim that you're keeping the law. And that's why it's so important to learn Thora and learn in the source language. All right, that's it for Thora. So I'll stop here and we'll open up for questions. Then for this half of the class, we're going to do some prophecy. And I thought we would start by reading the little red chapter, the 10th chapter of Zechariah, which is otherwise known as Zechariah. So if you have your Bibles, we'll just do it in the English. It's fine for now. Zechariah is Zechariah, and we're going to read the entire 10th chapter, and then we're going to tie this into the 5th assembly in Chazon. We're going to see how they correlate. So, is everybody there? Zechariah chapter 10.
Khan.
Okay. Let me put it up on the screen so you can see it in our language. I haven't finished editing yet, but you can see the raw text for now. Let me know when you see it up.
Wasalak Mabin.
Shalom, Marshal Ashacha.
Nashe, can you read for me up?
Khan.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, so can you guys see my screen?
Khan.
All right, so you can see I'm not done editing it. I've got to get rid of these Arabic numerals and stuff like that. But so we can just take it in English, and then when we need to, I'll break and I'll stop and do the Mubare. So first 3 verses, reader.
Ask ye of Yahweh, rain in the time of the latter rain. So Yahweh shall make bright clouds and give them showers of rain to everyone grass in the field. For the idols have spoken vanity, and the diviners have seen a lie, and have told false dreams. They comfort in vain. Therefore they went their way as a flock. They were troubled because there was no shepherd. Mine anger was kindled against the shepherds, and I punished the goats. For Yahweh Sabaoth have visited his flocks, the house of Yahudah, and have made them as his goodly horse in the battle. Come on.
Come on. All right, so these first 3 verses are very, very powerful because they do speak about days we're living in. He says, ask of Yahweh rain in the time of the latter rain. When is the time of the latter rain?
Now.
Yeah. So in our land, we have 2 basically rain seasons. There's the early rain, and then there's the latter rain.
Yeah, the fall season, right?
Yeah, fall season, and the early rain is in the spring. So why do you need the latter rain in the fall season? Why is that rain so important?
That prepares the ground for the sowing of the new crops and for the harvest.
Yeah, that latter rain is crucial because you're going to be planting, and that rain is going to be the source for the next harvest to come in the next year, in the next spring. So this is a very poetic way of saying we are asking Yahweh for the rain in the time of the latter rain, so that we can be prepared for the harvest. So the harvest will be plentiful in the upcoming month of the spring. It says he will make the clouds bright and give showers of rain to every one grass of the field. Again, poetry. What is he talking about?
Our
Showers of
generation.
rain. Hmm?
Talking about everybody in our generation.
Yeah, this is the awakening that we're seeing. You know, and it's been raining. Okay, and every grass of the field has been getting this rain. But verse 2 tells us that the idols have been speaking vanity, like while we've been slowly waking up since the 19th century after slavery ended, well, during slavery and after slavery. You know, we've seen every Bible thumping preacher and every evangelist from Chuck Swindoll, what's his name, Billy Graham, all these guys. Okay, the guy who wrote the book, Late Great Planet Earth. Remember that guy? I don't know if you guys remember that guy, but he was, when I was a kid in high school, I would read his book because I was so fascinated by this guy with his predictions of the end of the world and prophecy and all that crap, rapture and all that crap. None of that stuff happened. All that stuff he predicted, none of it has happened.
Hal Lindsey.
Hal Lindsey, that's him. That is him. Amen. Amen. That's him. Hal Lindsey. I used to read his books all the time. And there's another one. Was it Jack? Shoot.
Van Impe?
Yes, Jack Van Impe. You guys remember? He was another one. He was very entertaining. I mean, he had some very good slides and all kinds of projections, and man, you could listen to him all day. And there's another one, Walter Graham. No, I don't know. There's so many of them, who were predicting in the name of their idol how the world's supposed to turn out to them, and they all ended up being false shepherds. And we've seen even among our own people, people predicting the end of the world. If you were part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, you've heard Ellen G. White make predictions. If you were part of the Jehovah's Witness, you've heard their generation that will never sleep prophecy, right? If you were born around the time of 1914, if you are alive from that generation, you're supposed to still be alive when the kingdom is established. That was one of my biggest ways of attacking or destroying the Jehovah's Witness doctrine. I was telling them, who do you know that's still alive from 1914? No one. Everyone who was alive in 1914, I'm pretty sure everyone is dead by now. But that was a major, major, major prophecy of the Jehovah's Witness. It was all in all their publications. Okay, this is the generation that will never sleep. Some of them may die, but they're not all going to die, and they're going to be around when that kingdom is established. If you were part of the Jehovah's Witness Church, you heard that. Well, probably now you're not hearing it because they probably destroyed all that literature, right? But that's what they were telling their people. And you had the Baha'i movement. You had all the Jim Jones. Well, he actually killing people, but you had all these idols making predictions. Ended up being vanity. Ended up being false. And the sheep, the flock, were troubled because there was no shepherd. Verse 2. Okay, and my anger was kindled against the shepherds, and I plundered the goats. Okay, we've seen all these goats fall one by one. All of them. I think that one of those entertaining falls it wasn't Jimmy Swaggart, it was who's that guy? Whose wife became Jim Baker. That was a disaster. That was an absolute disaster. His fall.
I got in trouble as a kid. I just had an awareness about this stuff, about what was I guess scripture. And I was, when I say a kid, I was about 8 or 9 years old, to the point to where I got reprimanded by my grandmother because Tammy Faye Baker was crying all the time, and he was doing all this stuff, and I said it in front of my grandmother, which I knew better than, but I just couldn't hold it. I was like, this is fake. Mm-hmm. And boy, I got punished. I'm still under punishment for that.
Yeah. I caught that same hell. My grandmother sitting in front of the tube watching them. I'm like, man, this is a lie. This is some BS. And oh man, forget it.
Yeah, there was it wasn't Fred Price. I forgot his name. Dang it! I used to be good at these names.
Was it Carlton something?
Pearson.
No.
Ike?
No, not Ike. Was it Fred Price? Maybe it was Fred Price.
Of Los Angeles.
Frederick.
Up in the fall, and it's just proof that there was never any power or salvation in that stuff that they're doing. Okay, there never was. Okay, but what we see happening now is Yahweh is visiting his flock. Okay, and he's going to strengthen the house of Yahweh, not just that tribe, but the tribes associated with it, and make them into a horse fit for battle. Okay, 4 through 6.
Out of him came forth the corner, Out of him the nail, out of him the battle bow, out of him every oppressor together. And they shall be as mighty men, which tread down their enemies in the mire of the streets in the battle. And they shall fight because Yahweh is with them, and the riders on their horses shall be confounded. And I will strengthen the house of Yahudah, and I will save the house of Yahusap, and I will bring them again to the place, to place them, for I have mercy upon them, and they shall be as though I had not cast them off. For I am Yahweh, their God, and will hear them.
Come on. Now you see, we know this is talking about the last days because he refers to the whole nation by the names Yaodah and Yaosap, which means the two halves that were split. He's not talking about anything we've seen in history. This is going to happen in the future, in our time, right? Where he brings us together as a nation, all 13 tribes, and he turns us into an army that's capable of kicking butt, capable of destroying and fighting back. That's what we're going to see happen. Okay, the rider and his horse, the horse and its rider shall be confounded. I mean, put to shame. It means people with tanks and armored vehicles and whatnot, they're not going to be able to, not going to be any match for us because Yahweh is going to turn us into a well-oiled fighting machine, unstoppable. Okay, in verse 6, he's going to have mercy and bring them to a place, right, and not cast them off ever again. 7 through 9.
And they of Aparim shall be like a mighty man, and their heart shall rejoice as through wine. Yea, their children shall see it, and be glad. Their heart shall rejoice in Yahweh. I will hiss for them and gather them, for I have redeemed them, and they shall increase as they have increased. And I will sow them among the people, and they shall remember me in far countries, and they shall live with their children and turn again.
Come on. I will hiss for them. I have redeemed them. They will increase as they have increased. I will sow them among people. They shall remember me in the far countries. They shall live with their children, and they shall turn again. Okay, house of Yaosap. This is referring to you guys in the Caribbean. Okay, I will hiss for them. Okay, 10 through, I guess we can just finish the chapter.
Okay. I will bring them again also out of the land of Mitzrayim, and gather them out of Assyria. And I will bring them into the land of Gilead and Lebanon, and place shall not be found for them. And he shall pass through the sea with affliction, and shall smite the waves in the sea, and all the deeps of the river shall dry up, and the pride of Assyria shall be brought down, and the scepter of Mitzrayim shall depart away. And I will strengthen them in Yahweh, and they shall walk up and down in his name, says Yahweh. Amen.
Come on, let's look at this very carefully because I know a lot of folks have read this, maybe, and they haven't really looked at the details from the perspective that I'm about to put it forth. But it says in verse 10, I will bring them again out of the land of Mitzrayim and out of the land of Assyria. So this cannot be talking about literal Mitzrayim and literal Assyria. Why? Because it's the end of the world, and we know that the nation has gone through the curses that that put them where?
In the land of the north.
In the Americas.
In the Americas.
And
principally the land of...
They're from two opposite directions.
Yeah. So this is a redundancy. This is a poetic, prophetic redundancy that people miss. When it says, I will bring you out of the land of Mitzrayim and out of Assyria, it's the same place. Same place. Because the land of our punishment is like Mitzrayim and it is like Assyria. The same things that happened to us in those ancient countries, those ancient nations, are all happening to us in the Americas. So the Americas are now, modern day Egypt and modern day Assyria.
God. See, I was looking at it as like the land of Matrim. You know how we know the real meaning of Matrim, and then of Assyria, because the descendants of the Assyrians was ruling
Khan.
before, slavery and all that. But I see
Yeah,
your
no.
point.
This also happens in the book of Hosea. He does this a lot, and also Yeshayahu, he does it a lot. He links these two nations together, Matrim and Assyria. And really, it's talking about the same place at the end of the world, the Americas, where all the tribes were shipped to be punished. Okay, I will bring them out of Matrim and I will bring them out of Assyria. Same place, right? Because we're no longer in Matrim. We were never supposed to go back there as slaves, and none of our people are left in Assyria anymore. None of literal Assyria, they're not there. Okay, he brought us through Africa and Europe, brought us down to the west coast of Africa, shipped us over, the rest of the history. So we're not in these literal places anymore. We're in the Americas, and the Americas are now the land of Matrim and the land of Assyria. Okay, now look at the next clause in this verse 10. It says, I will bring them to the land of Gilead and Lebanon, and there will not be enough, it says, place for them, not enough room. It'll be not enough room. So let's look at this. What is this referring to? Because when we go back to our land, there's plenty of room.
The wilderness.
The wilderness. And how do we explain this to people? Well, you have to look up the definitions of Gilead and Lebanon. You have to look up the definition. The word Gilead, okay, in our language refers to hilly, rocky terrain. And the word Lebanon simply means white. So when it says, I will bring them out of Assyria and Ashur, and I will bring them into Gilead and Lebanon, these are also the same place, Gilead and Lebanon, prophetically the same place. It is a place that has white mountains. White mountains. So if that's true, right, all we have to do now is take that information and see if we can verify it. Go onto Google and look up what countries of the world have white mountains. And I challenge all of you to do that, since probably you think I'm crazy, right? What countries of the world are famous for having a white mountain? You guys doing your Google?
I think it's America.
The Himalayas. I'm getting New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Well, it can't be New Hampshire because that's the Americas. But I didn't know. I'm from Massachusetts. I didn't know they had white mountains. That's because it's snow-capped, right? There's snow there in New Hampshire. But I'm actually talking about a rock formation, a mountain formation, where the mountain itself is white.
Oh, never mind. That's the name of the mountain. Huh.
No, but I've been to New Hampshire. There, it snows. There's going to be white mountains, but that's because of the snow. In Maine, you go skiing. We go skiing up in Maine. There's lots of white mountains there. Anybody find anything yet?
La.
I was looking for
Okay.
it now.
Google Salinas Salt Spring. Salinas, Salinas, Salt Spring.
White Mountain only in the Philippines.
White Mountain only exists in the Philippines. And when it says there's not going to be enough room, that's because this place is not that big. So you can imagine when we start to multiply, we're going to have to leave. That's why it says there's not going to be enough room. because eventually our population is gonna be so big that we are going to have to leave and go back to our own land. But when we go to our own land, there's plenty of room. Plenty of room. We're not gonna go back to our own land and be like, it's not a room. This is not, that's not the situation. It's gonna be like that in the wilderness because we're gonna start out small and gonna grow, and then we're gonna reach maximum capacity. It's gonna be time for us to leave, go home. That's why it says there won't be enough place for them, because we're going to grow out of it. We're going to grow out of it, and it's going to be time to leave. Verse 11, they shall pass through the sea with affliction. It's really the sea of affliction, and shall, actually, let me put it up on the screen here so we can, verse 11. So do you see my pointer here? Wa ghabar bayam sarah. So that's really, it doesn't say sea with affliction like the English does it. What is it? What do you have when you have yam sarah, and sarah is affliction? It's two nouns together. There's a chain, so it's really sea of affliction, not sea with affliction. Okay, and shall smite the waves thereof, and the deeps of the river shall dry up, and the pride of Assyria shall be brought down, and the scepter of Mitzrayim shall depart. So we are passing through the sea of affliction as long as we've been in the Americas. Okay, but Yahweh is going to smite those waves and allow us to leave. Okay, and when we leave, and we start to leave in significant numbers, the pride of Assyria and the scepter of Mitzrayim will begin to fall. As long as we stay, we are actually helping them to survive. We keep them alive. They know it. Okay, they know if we leave, that's the clock will begin to tick on their existence. You want to destroy America? America delenda est? You start leaving, and then you see what happens. Verse 12, and they will strengthen, I will strengthen them in Yahweh, and they shall walk up and down in his name. So they have to know his name, don't they? For verse 12 to be true, they have to know his name. So this is an indirect promise that the name would be restored to these people. They're not going to be walking up and down in a false, illegitimate name. They're not going to be praising and getting all excited, jumping up and down, and can't shut them up about a fake name. It's going to be the real name. That's what verse 12 is telling us. That these people who come through this sea, these people who are going to be collected out of Mitzrayim and Assyria, and they're the house of Yah, stop joining together with the house of Yah. They're coming together, all 13 tribes coming together. The remnant, I know someone won't like that word remnant. The ones who escape, okay, the escapees, they will know his correct name. And it's always going to be on their lips. We won't be able to shut them up. They're going to strengthen themselves in Yahweh and walk up and down in his name. Oman? Who thinks I'm crazy about verse 10? Be honest.
Amon. Yes.
Who thinks I'm crazy?
Not crazy.
Nuts, man. You nuts.
Yeah.
No, I'm just...
Okay. It's okay. Just do your research and pray about it and think about it, because this verse can't be saying that when we go back to our land, there's not going to be enough room for us.
Wow.
So Ghalad and Lebanon, these are, again, this is code, poetic, is prophetic code for the land of the wilderness that we're going to be going to. And there's only one land in the world that is known for having a white mountain, and that's the Philippines. Salinas Salt Springs. And the color white is important when we go to Chazon. So I'm going to stop this share. I'm going to flip to this Fifth Assembly and Book of Chazon. So for those of you who are new, the Obey Name doctrine, we do not subscribe to any book in the Greek New Testament, but since we do believe in the Messiah in terms of his historicity and his basic message, we do believe that the truth about him has been preserved in the Hebrew Matthew, which did not was no one really knew about in our time until the 1984 when George Howard from Harvard University published it, and he didn't do any. His translation is very off, and he didn't do any comparative textual reconstruction. He just published it raw. So if you buy his book, okay, he published it raw, and it has all the mistakes in it. He didn't want to do the work of cleaning up the manuscript. He just published it as he found it, and that's fine. That's great because that's really not for him to do. It's not his job. That's our job. So in that version, which is the true version, we don't see the same guy that you read about in the Greek New Testament. That guy in the Greek New Testament is a figment of Paul's imagination. He's a blasphemous construct. It does not really exist. The guy in the Hebrew Matthew is totally different. He's not the same person at all. And as far as the book of Revelation, the Greek version is no good. The Greek version is an attempt to hijack the original. The original was written in Hebrew or Gabare, and the Greek version has made some changes to it. It was tampered with so that it could be read in the Gentile church, and it took a few centuries before it was accepted finally by the church in the West to be included in the Bible. Martin Luther, still the great reformer, Martin Luther wanted to rip it out. He still didn't accept this book as a true book, and that's because it conflicted with his doctrine of grace by faith alone, salvation by faith alone. Because in the book of Chazon, it tells you that you need to keep the commandments. You got to keep the commandments. And that's one of the things that the editor did not cut out when he was making his changes to the book, which exposes that the real book was an Obey Name book that was in Hebrew. So we use that. We simply extract the Pauline editions. It's very clear to identify which ones of those are. We just simply take those out. And I know folks say, well, you're not supposed to do that. The book of Revelation says, cursed is those who add or subtract. Well, the book has already been, that's already happened to the book. Okay, when the book makes that threat at the end, don't add or subtract it. Well, that's already happened. The book that you have in the Bible right now, in your King James Bible, is a tampered with book. That's already been done. So for someone else, if you look at the Textus Receptus, for example, which is the manuscript that Erasmus prepared for the churches in the right before the King James Bible was made, they used Erasmus's manuscript. Erasmus admits in his notes that the book of Revelation that he used was a construct that he made. He had to actually invent chunks of it because he didn't have enough manuscripts to fill in his gaps. And no one, only New Testament scholars know that and talk about it. People in the churches don't know that. They don't know that the book that they're holding in their hand was basically an edited fabrication of Erasmus. That it's not the real thing. Whole verses have been added to the book. So we feel that we're justified in simply removing those edits, since they weren't supposed to be there in the first place. So that's the Obey Name position. Those are the only two books that we use for the testimony of the Messiah, that he came and what he stood for, is those two books, Mathath Ya'o and Chazon. Everything else it does not fit the standard for what we consider to be valid scripture, in the sense that it has to agree with Torah, can't contradict Torah, can't add or subtract, must quote Yahweh's words, must use his name. That's the standard that we use to say, okay, this book is scripture. But if you turn to Chazon, and we're going to look at the Fifth Assembly here, that's chapter 2, starting at verse I'm sorry, chapter 3, verse 1 to 6. And I have my version up here so you guys can look and compare it. Oh, I thought I did. There it is. Okay, can you see mine?
All
right, reader, do the honors, 1 through 6.
And the angel of the fifth assembly writes, these are the words of him who holds the 7 angels of Elohim, the 7 stars. I know your deeds. You have a name of being alive, but you are dead. Wake up, strengthen what remains and is about to die. For I have found your deeds unfinished in the sight of Allah. Remember therefore what you have received and heard. Hold it fast and repent. But if you do not wake up, I will come like a thief, and you will not know in what watch I will come to you. Yet you have a few people who have not soiled their clothes. They will walk with me dressed in white, for they are worthy. The one who is victorious will, like them, be dressed in white. I will never blot out the name of the person from the book of life, but will acknowledge that before my Father and before his angels. Whoever has ears, let them hear. Amen.
All right, so we know that each assembly represents a branch of the menorah, and there are 7 branches, and we know that each branch represents 2 tribes, and 1 branch is a set apart branch for 1 tribe. So 2 branches, 2 tribes per branch, and 1 branch for 1 set apart tribe, which gives you 13 total. And the 5th assembly, who remembers what 2 tribes this letter is addressed to?
Ra'oban and Shemayon.
Ra'oban and Shemayon. And how do we know that? Blessings given to Ra'oban in Genesis 49 and Deuteronomy 33. They both talk about Ra'oban being the excellent son, the one that's supposed to be the leader with all the great gifts and skills and everything he touches excellent. But it says he would be unimportant as water, which is an oxymoron, right? How can something be unimportant as water? You will not excel because you went up to your father's bed and defiled it, all that stuff. So he was bumped down from being the chief tribe, but he's still unimportant as water. And what do we know? What's the catchphrase we always say about water?
It's important for life.
Yeah, it's essential for life. So even though this tribe was supposed to be the top, the essential tribe, it got bumped down, but it still remains the tribe that is essential for life. This tribe, the gifts of this tribe have to do with life. Life. So we're talking about people who are going to be in the medical profession, doctors, nurses, caregivers, scientists, engineers, inventors. Okay? That's the blessings of this tribe. These are the best and the brightest, the brains of our nation. Okay, these are the Einsteins. These are the ones who invent things and they can make life much more enjoyable. Okay, the internet was invented by OMPP guy. I forgot his name, but it was an OMPP guy who invented the internet. Cell phone, and we can go on and on and on. We could spend a whole class talking about inventions that our people from that tribe have made, and we are not benefiting from, because we make something and then we give it away. Like, okay, great, right? We invent something and then before you know it, someone else is taking credit for it, and they're benefiting from it, and it's no longer ours. That's got to stop. We got to stop doing that. So this tribe, that's the gift of that tribe. The other tribe, Shamayon, we know that their blessing is also linked to Loe, but we can extrapolate their blessing separate from Loe in the sense that he is also the voice of the voiceless. He hears, okay, and he reacts. He opens his mouth and he stands up for the people who don't have a voice. and he has righteous indignation, and he wants to see justice done. So for the tribe of Shamayon, we're talking about not just fiery preachers, they can be that, but we're really talking about activists, right? Organizers, yes, even gangbangers. So we don't exclude them, because that's an unfortunate thing of our situation, that a lot of our people have had to resort to being in gangs. That doesn't take away from the fact that they're still manifesting the blessings of Shamayon. Black Panthers, Nation of Islam, a lot of our Shamayon people are in these places. Okay, they're not just if they're in churches too, but they're not in church because they have a theological interest. To them, church is a vehicle to affect social change. That's why they're there. Loe is there to get rich. Loe is there to collect your tithes and your offerings, and to, entertain you with a sermon and get you all emotional. That's what Loe is doing right now. But Shamayon, he's there really for more. If he's in the church, he's there for something else. He wants to see you guys. He wants to see, people being change, affected in a positive way. He wants to see the community benefit from the church. But that's Shamayon. So his gift is hearing. That's what his name means, heard. So his gift is hearing. So we see in the letter, it says, I know your works, that you have a name or a reputation for being alive, but you are dead. So the tribe of Ra'oban in these days, this is a message to them. Okay, you have the name that you're supposed to be about life, and you're supposed to be alive, but you're not. You're dead. Okay, you need to wake up and strengthen the things that remain that are about to die, because your gift is supposed to restore life, promote life. That's the gift of Ra'oban. And they're not using their gifts for the nation. Their gifts are being peddled off and, proliferated among the oppressor, not benefiting our people at all. Okay, strengthen the things which remain that already die. For I've not found your deeds or your works perfect or unfinished in the sight of Allah. That's a sharp message for the tribe of Ra'oban. But of course, they have to know who they are first. They have to wake up and realize, wow, this is talking about me. Verse 3, remember therefore what you have received and heard. That word heard is the key word for Shamayon in this letter. Shamayon. Hold fast and repent. So they're also being admonished to repent, to wake up and start using your gifts, your paternal gifts from father to son, start using them to benefit the nation, and not, everybody else except the nation. Okay? That's the message for these two tribes in this letter. Then it says here, if you do not repent, I will come upon you as a thief, and you will not know the hour. So even now, he threatens punishment if they don't wake up. Then he says, you have a few in this assembly who have not soiled their garments, and they will walk with me dressed in white, for they are worthy. Okay, they have a few people. This word few, if you remember in the blessing, it's cut out of the King James. In Deuteronomy 33:6, it just says, if you have it, in Deuteronomy 33:6, it's supposed to mention Shamayon. The chapter 33 in Deuteronomy in your King James Bible, your English Bible, is missing the tribe of Shamayon, because a Jewish scribe along the way, his eye skipped over a phrase, and he didn't include the tribe of Shamayon. It's supposed to be included at the very end of that blessing in verse 6 of that chapter. So when it says, Ra'oban live and don't die, and it says, let not his men be few, that's the way the English reads. It's supposed to say, Shamayon, let his men be counted. let his men not be few. Don't let his men disappear. So when it says here, few have not soiled their garments, that's another message to Shamayim, that they are going to be counted, and that they are some of them who even today have not soiled their garments. And the reward for that is that they will be dressed in white. In the verse 5, the one who is victorious like them will be dressed in white. And I will not blot out his name out of the book of life, but I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. Whoever has ears, let him hear. Verse 6 is telling you that this is code, and you need to go beyond the surface of it and look deeper than what it's saying. So in verse 5, when it says, the ones who were victorious, I will make them to be dressed in white. Is he talking about giving them literal white clothes? Because really, is that a reward? Is that the type of reward you want to have for being victorious? Is a new white outfit?
Nah.
We're talking about.
That's what the church is teaching. The church is teaching you're going to die and you're going to go to heaven. It's going to give you a white robe, and that's it. Congratulations, here's your white robe. Welcome. That's what the church is telling you. This is about dead people getting their white robes in heaven. Right? Is that what he's saying?
Nah.
Where are the people going to be victorious and be dressed in white? And what does white mean?
Those white mountains was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, the wilderness is where they're going to be restored, revived, and become white, meaning pure. Okay, meaning restored. Their garments are dirty and filthy right now, but they're going to be restored in the wilderness. Okay, and their names won't be blotted out of the book of life. That should be very important to Raoban, since he's all about life. How ironic would it be for his name to be blotted out of the book of life when his name and his blessing has everything to do with life? Again, another arrow shot at the tribe of Raoban, the book of life. Okay, the book of life. And for our people, right, the restoration of our people, when we finally begin to get our asses into gear and do something, the transformation happens in the wilderness, where there is located white mountains. I mean, really white mountain. And that's the connection with this and the prophecy we read in Zechariah 10. So it's not just a promise to these two tribes and specifically, but it's addressed to them since it refers to their blessings. Whoever is victorious, meaning those who overcome the beast, his image, his name, right? And how do you do that? You disengage from that system and you leave. Okay, you're going to be dressed in white. You're going to be brought to a place where you can be revived. You're going to be given the morning star. You're going to be given the hidden manna in the paradise of God. You're going to be made to stand up on your feet again. Each letter has a promise at the end of it for those who overcome, and it's not talking about dying. It's talking about living. Aman, any questions? I'm going to stop there since it's late.
Come on.